My name is Natalie Pierce. I'm 29 years old. And I didn't know my relationship was already breaking apart until it happened because of a sentence said with a laugh. Not a confession, not an apology, a joke. We were sitting in a downtown diner on a Friday night, the kind of place with dim lighting, sticky menus, and that constant hum of overlapping conversations that makes everything feel louder than it should. 5 of us crowded into a booth. Me, my boyfriend, Evan, his roommate, and 2 of his old college friends. We'd been together just over a year of routines, a year of shared weekends, inside jokes, takeout orders, memorized down to sauces, a year where I genuinely believed we were building towards something solid. Evan was 30, worked in digital marketing, charismatic, easy smile, the kind of man people instantly liked. I worked in operations for a mid-sized tech firm, structured, analytical, deliberate. I believed in clarity, in showing up. The conversation at the table had been harmless. Complaints about work, someone's terrible boss, a cheating scandal involving a friend of a friend. I don't get serial cheaters, his roommate said, shaking her head. If you want attention from everyone, just stay single. I nodded along, so did Evan. Then he laughed. Not awkwardly, not nervously. He lifted his glass like he was delivering a punchline. Well, he said lightly, this is actually the longest I've gone without cheating. The table went silent. 3 seconds, maybe 4. Someone laughed uncomfortably, assuming it was a joke. I didn't. I looked at him, really looked at him. He wasn't watching me. He was watching their reactions, enjoying the moment, the attention, like he always did. Later that night, after everyone split off, we went back to my apartment. I cooked dinner, opened a bottle of wine, tried to reclaim normal. But Evan barely touched his plate. His phone kept lighting up every few minutes. Buzz, smile, type, face down on the table. Buzz, smile again. I sat there watching him like I wasn't even in the room. Who are you talking to? I asked finally. He didn't look up. Does it matter? Yes, I said, it actually does. He sighed like I'd inconvenienced him. They're just friends, Natalie. You're being weird. Friends you text at 11 at night while you're sitting across from me? He rolled his eyes. We're not married. Why would I stop texting other women? The sentence landed cleanly, sharp, surgical. I felt something cold and quiet settle in my chest. Not rage, not heartbreak. Clarity. I nodded once, slowly. Fair enough, I said. He looked up then, surprised, waiting for a fight that never came. Yeah, I continued calmly. You're right, we're not married. He smiled, satisfied, and went right back to his phone. I watched him for another minute. Then I leaned back in my chair and let the silence stretch. He didn't notice. And that was the moment I understood something important. I wasn't his partner. I was his placeholder. And once you accept that, everything changes. The strange thing was, I didn't feel angry after that night. I felt detached. Evan stayed over less. When he did, he was distracted, half present. Our conversations thinned out into logistics. What time are you leaving? Did you feed the cat? Do you want leftovers? He still kissed me hello and goodbye, still slept beside me, but it felt like habit instead of desire. I stopped initiating plans. Part of me wanted to see if he'd notice. He didn't. And that silence, his silence, answered more questions than any argument ever could. Here's what Evan didn't know. I'd met his family several times over the past year. Big, loud, warm, Sunday dinners that lasted hours, conversations overlapping, plates always refilled before they were empty. His parents lived in the suburbs, and every few months the entire extended family would descend on their house like a small, affectionate storm. That's where I'd met Lucas, his cousin. Lucas was 28, worked in product strategy for a startup, recently moved back to the city after 3 years in Boston. We'd never spent much time together, just polite conversations here and there. Shared jokes about bad subway lines, a mutual hatred of cilantro, nothing memorable. Or so I thought. The morning after Evan's "we're not married" comment, I sent Lucas a follow request on Instagram. I told myself it was harmless. He accepted within the hour. I waited a full day before messaging him. Something casual about a marketing campaign I'd seen that reminded me of a project he'd mentioned at the last family dinner. He replied almost immediately, not just with a sentence, but with enthusiasm. We talked about work at first, then books, then how much we both hated networking events but kept getting dragged into them anyway. The conversation flowed easily without effort. He asked questions, real ones, follow-ups. I hadn't realized how starved I was for that. I wasn't trying to hurt Evan. Not consciously. I was doing exactly what he'd told me was acceptable. We weren't married. 2 weeks later, Lucas asked if I wanted to grab coffee near his office. I said yes. He showed up on time, phone face down, gave me his full attention. When I spoke, he listened like my words mattered. That coffee turned into dinner the following week. Then drinks. Then a Saturday afternoon wandering through a farmer's market, sharing bread, laughing about nothing. Eventually it came up. "How are things with you and Evan?" Lucas asked one night, stirring his drink. I shrugged. "Honestly, I don't think I am anymore." Lucas nodded slowly. He's always needed attention, even growing up. He liked being wanted by everyone. I smiled sadly. "That tracks." "Are you serious with him?" he asked gently. "He doesn't think so." I told him what Evan had said, word for word. Lucas went quiet. "That's brutal," he said. "I'm sorry." For the first time in months, I felt seen. And somewhere deep down, I knew this wasn't innocent anymore. The family dinner was coming, and nothing about it was going to stay contained. The family dinner was scheduled for Sunday. Evan mentioned it the way he mentioned everything lately. Casually, without looking up from his phone. "My mom's hosting this weekend," he said, scrolling. "You're coming, right?" "Sure," I replied. "Cool, 3 o'clock." That was it. No excitement. No, "I want you there." Just an assumption. What he didn't know was that Lucas had already mentioned it days earlier. We joked about how chaotic those dinners were, about his aunt's obsession with feeding everyone until they could barely breathe, about his grandmother insisting everyone was too skinny. At some point, joking turned into anticipation. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both knew showing up together, separately but knowingly, was going to change things. I arrived right on time. Evan's mom greeted me with a hug that lasted longer than it probably should have, told me there was wine already open, told me to make myself at home. Evan barely acknowledged me. He was in the kitchen, phone in hand, thumbs moving fast. He glanced up, nodded once. "Hey!" No kiss, no smile. I felt like background noise. I grabbed a drink and joined his dad and uncle in the living room, half listening to a conversation about sports. I kept checking the front door without meaning to. Lucas arrived 20 minutes later. When our eyes met across the room, something unmistakable passed between us. He smiled, not big, not obvious, but knowing. He looked grounded, present. He made his rounds, greeting family, hugging relatives. When he finally reached me, his fingers brushed my arm, just for a second longer than necessary. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, you look good." "So do you." Across the kitchen, Evan noticed. I saw it in the way his eyes flicked up, the way his posture stiffened. Dinner was loud, chaotic, familiar. Plates passed. Voices overlapped. Evan sat across from me, 3 seats down, phone never leaving his hand. His mom asked him twice to put it away. He ignored her. Lucas leaned toward me and whispered, "Is he seriously texting at his own family dinner?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. After dinner, people scattered, outside, into the living room, back to the kitchen. Lucas found me near the patio doors, holding 2 glasses of wine. "Want to take a walk?" he asked. "Just for a minute." I nodded. We walked slowly around the block. The evening was warm, golden, easy. At one point, he took my hand. It felt natural. Right. When we came back, Evan was waiting in the driveway. Arms crossed, face flushed, phone gone. "Where were you?" he demanded. "Took a walk." His eyes flicked to Lucas, then back to me. "Are you kidding me right now?" "Evan," Lucas said calmly, "relax. We were just talking." "I saw you," Evan snapped, "holding hands." I stayed calm. "You told me we're not married," I said evenly. "You told me I don't get to care who you talk to." "That's different," he said sharply. "How?" "Because he's family." "And the women you text all night?" He had no answer. People started coming outside. His mom, his sister, his aunts. "What's going on?" his mom asked. Evan exploded. Accusations, betrayal, boundaries. I repeated his words back to him, slowly, clearly. The silence afterward was devastating. His father shook his head. "Did you really say that?" his sister asked. Evan looked small for the first time since I'd known him, and I realized this wasn't revenge. This was consequence. The street went quiet in that heavy, suffocating way that only happens when a family argument spills outside and the neighbors start pretending not to look. Evan was still talking. No, yelling. But the words had lost their edge. They bounced off the stunned faces around him and fell flat on the pavement. "This is a violation," he snapped, pointing between me and Lucas. "You don't do this to family." Lucas didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "You did this first," he said calmly. "You just didn't think it would ever apply to you." Evan's mom stepped forward, her voice tight with disappointment. Evan, I need you to stop. He turned to her, eyes wild. You're taking her side? I'm taking the side of basic respect, she said quietly, and I don't like what I'm hearing. His sister crossed her arms. You've been glued to your phone for months. We've all noticed. That landed harder than anything I'd said. Evan's anger cracked, turning sharp and desperate. He tried to redirect, blame Lucas, accuse me of planning this, of humiliating him. I didn't engage. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to defend myself. The rest of the night was unbearable. Evan locked himself in the upstairs bathroom, pacing and crying loudly enough that everyone could hear. His mom apologized to me at least 3 times, each one heavier than the last. I didn't raise him like this, she said, eyes glossy. I'm so sorry. His dad shook my hand before I left. You deserve someone who shows up. Evan left without saying goodbye. Lucas and I stayed, helped clean up, dried dishes, talked quietly with relatives who admitted they'd seen Evan's behavior for a long time. When we finally left, we sat in my car for a while, neither of us ready to go. That was intense, Lucas said, exhaling. Yeah. Are you okay? I nodded, relieved. He smiled softly. Me too. I kissed him under the porch light, aware someone was probably watching, and for once, I didn't care. Evan texted me nonstop that night. Insults, accusations, regret, promises. I didn't respond. The next morning, I sent one message. We're done. Don't contact me again. I blocked him everywhere. He showed up at my apartment 2 days later, crying, begging, swearing he'd change. I told him the truth. You didn't love me, I said. You loved having me available. 4 months later, Lucas and I are together, really together. Easy, honest, present. Evan is still the same. And I finally understand something I wish I'd known sooner. When someone tells you the rules of how they'll treat you, believe them.